Lean Startup by Eric Ries. You work hard, you ship the product, you post it everywhere, and then almost nothing happens. A few likes, a few signups, no real momentum. You start asking yourself the scary questions. Is my idea bad, or am I just executing it badly? Should I keep pushing or pivot before I waste another year of my life? This is where most ambitious people either burn out or quietly give up, not because they're lazy, but because they don't have a system for learning what actually works. In this video, we're going to steal that system from The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. You'll see how to treat your startup, side project, or new idea like a series of fast experiments instead of a long, painful guessing game. By the end, you'll know exactly what to build next, how to measure progress, and when it's time to pivot or double down. Today, you're going to get 3 things. First, a new way to see your project, not as a product you're building, but as an experiment you're running. Second, a clear understanding of the Lean Startup tools, like minimum viable products, the build, measure, learn loop, and real metrics that actually tell you if you're making progress. And third, a simple 7-day plan to apply the book to your own idea, even if you're just starting or you feel totally stuck. No theory you'll forget tomorrow. You'll walk away with concrete actions you can use this week. The Lean Startup was born out of frustration. Eric Ries watched startup after startup, including his own, pour years of effort into building products that nobody really wanted. Huge launches, fancy features, big dreams, and then silence from customers. The core thesis of the book is simple but powerful. A startup is not a smaller version of a big company. A startup is a temporary organization designed to search for a repeatable and scalable business model. That means your job is not just to build. Your job is to learn, as quickly and cheaply as possible, what actually creates value for real customers and what leads to sustainable growth. Entrepreneurship, in this view, is a kind of management, disciplined experiments under extreme uncertainty. So let's turn your idea into that kind of disciplined experiment. We'll walk through the key ideas, connect them to everyday situations, and then plug them into a 7-day action plan you can follow. Here's the first big idea. In a startup, learning is the real progress, not just building. Most of us measure progress in features shipped, hours worked, or how busy we are. The Lean Startup flips this. The real question is, have you learned something that is validated by customer behavior and that reduces uncertainty? Ries calls this validated learning. It's not a guess, not a wish, but knowledge backed by data from actual experiments with customers. Instead of saying, I think people will love this feature, you say, when we shipped this small version, 25% of new users used it 3 times in the first week. In the book, Ries talks about his company IMVU. They worked for months building a complex product they thought people wanted, only to discover that real users were confused and unwilling to install it. The painful lesson: all that building didn't equal progress because it wasn't producing validated learning. So here's what you can do today. Write down your vision in 1 or 2 sentences, then underneath, write your top 3 assumptions about your customers or product that could be wrong. These are your learning goals. Keep those in front of you as we move on, because everything else flows from them. The second big idea is the build, measure, learn loop. This is the engine that turns your assumptions into experiments. Instead of planning for months, you build the smallest version of your idea that can test a specific assumption. Then you measure what customers actually do with it. Then you learn from that data and decide what to build next. Notice the order. You do not start by building everything. You start by deciding what you want to learn, then what you need to measure, and only then what you should build. The tool for this is the MVP, the minimum viable product. An MVP isn't a tiny, crappy version of your final vision. It's the simplest thing that lets you start the build, measure, learn loop for one key assumption. Imagine you want to launch an app that helps freelancers manage their clients. Instead of spending 6 months coding, Your MVP might be a simple landing page describing the benefits and a sign-up box, or even just offering manual help via email to a handful of people to see if they care enough to say yes. Do this today. Pick one of your assumptions from earlier and ask, what is the smallest experiment I can run to see if this is true? Then design an MVP that you could realistically build or set up within a week, not a year. This leads directly into the third big idea. Progress needs real, actionable metrics, not vanity numbers. It's easy to fool ourselves with big, impressive-sounding stats, total downloads, total followers, total page views. These vanity metrics can go up while the business is actually dying. The lean startup pushes you toward innovation accounting. That means measuring progress with numbers that are tied to customer behavior and that can guide decisions. Think activation rates, retention, referral rates, and revenue per customer. You also want metrics that are actionable, accessible, and auditable. Actionable means you can tie them to specific changes you make. Accessible means everyone on the team understands them. And auditable means they come from data that can be checked, not from wishful thinking. For this month, you might not be able to say that you had 10,000 visits this month, but you can say that of the people who signed up this week, 30% came back at least 3 times. That kind of metric can be tracked over time to see if you're actually getting better. Here's your micro action. Choose one meaningful metric for your current project, like percentage of new users who complete a key action in 7 days. Record your baseline number, even if it's ugly. From now on, use that as your scoreboard. Once you can see real progress, the next question becomes crucial. Fourth big idea. Every experiment leads to a choice: pivot or persevere. A pivot is a structured course correction based on what you've learned. You keep your vision, but you change your strategy for getting there. Persevering means staying on the current path because the data says you're moving in the right direction. In the book, Ries describes regular pivot or persevere meetings. The team looks at their innovation accounting metrics and asks, are our experiments moving these numbers enough? If not, it's time to consider a pivot. There are many types of pivots. You might zoom in and focus on one small feature that people really love. You might zoom out and turn a niche product into part of a larger offering. You might change the customer segment, the channel you use to reach them, or the way you charge for the product. In your life, this might look like discovering that people don't want your full coaching program, but they keep asking to pay just for one specific session, or realizing that your product works great for freelancers, not the small businesses you originally targeted. Here's what to do. Once a month, schedule a pivot or persevere review, even if it's just you. Bring your key metrics, your experiments, and ask honestly, if I were starting fresh today, would I choose this same path? If the honest answer is no, design a specific pivot and test it. Now let's talk about growth. The fifth big idea is that startups grow through specific engines, not vague virality. Ries describes 3 engines of growth. The sticky engine, where you grow by keeping customers for a long time, the viral engine, where each customer brings in others, and the paid engine, where you profitably buy attention through marketing. In the sticky engine, the key is low churn. If you're building a subscription app, coaching membership, or community, your growth depends on how long people stay. Small improvements in retention can have massive effects over time. In the viral engine, growth comes from existing users naturally spreading the product. Think invitations, sharing, or built-in social features. The key number here is the viral coefficient. How many new users each existing user brings in on average? In the paid engine, you focus on the relationship between the cost to acquire a customer and the lifetime value of that customer. If each new customer is worth more than it costs to get them, you can reinvest and scale. Your micro action is to choose your primary engine of growth for the next few months. Are you going to focus on retention, virality, or paid acquisition? Then pick one metric inside that engine, churn, viral invites per user, or cost per acquisition, and make that your main growth lever. Once you know how you'll grow, the next challenge is how you'll build fast enough to keep learning. The sixth big idea is working in small batches and using continuous deployment. Traditional product development loves big batches, long roadmaps, huge releases, months of work before anyone sees anything. The problem is that big batches delay feedback. If you're wrong, you find out too late. The lean startup borrows from lean manufacturing. In factories, small batches reduce waste, reveal problems earlier, and make it easier to improve the process. The same applies to building products. Instead of one massive launch, you ship tiny changes frequently. You might release new versions daily or weekly, each one a small, controlled experiment. You use techniques like feature flags, A/B tests, and quick rollbacks to keep things safe while you learn fast. Imagine you're launching a new onboarding flow. Instead of rebuilding everything, you create a small change to one screen, send a fraction of new users to it, and measure if the key metric improves. If it does, you roll it out wider. If not, you try another small batch. Here's what you can do today. Take your current project and break your next big feature into the smallest slice that still delivers a testable change. Commit to shipping that slice on a specific date soon, even if it's rough around the edges. Use it as an experiment, not a final masterpiece. All of this only works if your organization, even a one-person organization, supports continuous learning. That brings us to the seventh big idea. Build a culture that treats problems as opportunities to improve the system, not chances to blame people. The book talks about the 5 whys technique. When something goes wrong, you ask why 5 times, digging deeper each time until you find the root cause. Then you fix that, not just the surface symptom. For example, imagine your launch email didn't go out. Why? Because the email tool wasn't configured. Why? Because the new marketing assistant didn't know the process. Why? Because there is no documented checklist. Why? Because the team never created one after previous mistakes. Now you know what to fix, the system, not just the person. Applied to your own work, this mindset turns every failure into an investment. Each mistake becomes a trigger to improve the process, so it's less likely to happen again. Your micro-action is simple. Think of one recent failure or frustration in your project. Take 5 minutes to run through your own 5 whys, writing down each answer. Then choose one small, permanent change you can make to your process so you don't repeat that mistake. Now let's put everything together into a practical 7-day plan you can actually follow. On day 1, clarify your vision and assumptions. Write down what success looks like for your idea in one sentence. Then list at least 3 risky assumptions you're making about customers, the problem, or how you'll grow. Pick the one that, if wrong, makes everything else collapse. On day 2, design your MVP around that one assumption. Ask, what is the smallest experiment I can use to test this? It could be a landing page, a simple sign-up form, a manual service, or even just conversations with potential customers. Define what you'll measure and what will count as a signal to persevere or pivot. On day 3, build that MVP. No polishing, no perfectionism. Use whatever tools you have. Forms, docs, basic website builders, or manual processes. Your only goal is to have something testable in front of real humans soon. On day 4, launch the MVP to a small group. Share it with friends of friends, online communities, or your existing audience. Send personal messages asking people to try it and be honest. Track who interacts with it and how. On day 5, measure and learn. Look at your key metric, not just your feelings. Did people sign up, click through, reply, pay, or come back? Talk to a few users directly and ask what they were trying to do and where they got stuck. On day 6, tune or redesign. If you saw promising signals, ask what small improvement you can make next. If you saw almost no engagement, consider whether you're testing the right assumption or the right group of people. Sketch an alternative experiment or a small pivot you could test next.
On day 7, hold your pivot or persevere review. Look at the data from the week and ask, did we really make progress in validated learning? If yes, decide your next MVP and the next metric you'll track. If not, define a specific pivot to test, such as a new customer segment, a simplified offer, or a different growth channel. At the end of these 7 days, you won't have a perfect business, but you will have something far more valuable, a working, lean startup loop wrapped around your idea, and the confidence that you know what to try next. Let's wrap this up. The Lean Startup is not a book about being cautious or moving slowly. It's about moving fast in the right way. Startups don't fail because founders are lazy. They fail because they spend years executing the plan that was never tested. When you shift your mindset from build the perfect product to run the next smart experiment, everything changes. You define clear assumptions, build minimum viable products, measure real behavior, and decide when to pivot or persevere. You choose an engine of growth, work in small batches, and treat every failure as a chance to improve your system. If you take just one thing from this video, let it be this. Your idea doesn't need more blind effort. It needs more honest experiments. If you found this summary helpful, hit like so more builders can see it, and subscribe for more book-based playbooks like this. And in the comments, tell me this. What is one assumption about your project that you're going to test this week? Write it down publicly and let this be the first step of your lean startup journey.